Hello, my name is Nathan Brown. This is the presentation for the Pharmacy Tech class. A little bit about me. I really like football, most importantly the Texans. My activities that fill my free time, I'm a waiter at Hunan Gardens. I hang out with my girlfriend. I hang out with my friends sometimes, and I play a little bit of video games. I also watch a lot of movies. My favorite movies are probably The Dark Knight and the original trilogy Star Wars, as well as my favorite TV show currently is The Sopranos. All right, let's start by my presentation about smallpox by me. Second slide, please. Why I chose smallpox. So in AP Lang, we had a choice novel selection where we all read small parts of a book and chose what we wanted. I felt very interested by The Demon in the Freezer because it was about smallpox, a disease I didn't really know about. And it was, they call it like a really ripping tale, and there was a lot of cool information, so I decided to read it. It was a really, really good book. There was a lot of good history, and it was honestly a really scary book. So I hope some information today about smallpox that you don't know and that you can learn. Next slide, please. The anatomy of smallpox. So smallpox is part of the variola virus family. It exclusively infects humans. It starts in the respiratory tract, and it comes through airborne. It can also come through contact, but mostly just airborne. It's a respiratory virus. And it has over a 30% fatality rate. The incubation period is between 12 to 14 days. And once it comes in, it starts infecting our cells. It gets our lymph nodes. And then the reason that it's like so hard to beat is because it replicates through our host cytoplasm cell. It travels very fast, and it starts causing organ failure, going through the liver, spleen, and infecting our bone marrow. Next slide. The symptoms of smallpox are these huge blisters you see. It starts off with you're just kind of feeling sick, you got high fevers, you're not feeling well, and then you get these rashes and the blisters. These are very infectious. They make this like liquid, which can obviously get you the virus. So a lot of people couldn't help working these people because they had a really high chance of getting infected. So these blisters would get in, and they would grow throughout your body, and you would have organ failure, and then a lot of times you would die. Sometimes it would pass through, but especially at first, at a very high fatality rate. Next slide, please. So history of smallpox. So smallpox actually had the historians think over 1 billion deaths. It was super, super deadly. It got almost every single country. It lasted over thousands of years. The first ever case was actually in 1157 BC, where it was found in a mummy tomb that we found out about 50 years ago in Pharaoh Ramses V. Scientists believe that it started in ancient Egypt and then through the gold trade traveled through to China. Next slide, please. So it started in the gold trade and got to China. Because of the spice trades and a lot of the silk trades, the trade routes, it went through China and traveled through all of these small little cities that would go through the trade routes and went through the Middle East. Eventually by the 13, 14, 1500s, it got to Europe. The reason it was so deadly in Europe because they had these big villages, and it would get a certain village and just infect everybody and would move on. It killed over 60 million people in the 17th and 18th century, and because it was in Europe and then colonizers, it spread to North, South, and America and Australia. Next slide, please. The most deadliest was in Europe, but it also killed over 90% of the Native American population. It got in North America and just ran rampage through villages, completely broke down the society, and just killed almost all of them. Not so fun fact, smallpox was used as weapons in some cases. Colonizers would put them in blankets, give the blankets to the natives, and it would infect them. Next slide, please. So the vaccine. Edward Jenner in 1796 discovered that milkmaids working on cows were all immune to the disease. He found out through a small, mild skin infection that it was completely, if you had this infection, you were completely immune to the disease. He tested theory, It worked. And then he started massively producing this that went through all Europe. Though, in about 150-ish years, it was still around. So the CDC worked together, they massively made the vaccines, and they went and did circle run infections, where they would go in villages and circle around the area and get everybody inside and slowly encapsulate. It worked. By 1980, fully eradicated. Fun fact, one of the scientists who had a big role in helping eradicate disease was actually a monk, and his spiritual leader told him, go eradicate it. And he did. He was actually best friends with Steve Jobs as well. So, next slide. Finally, conclusion. Why I think smallpox is so relevant. So, the reason it's so relevant is because there are actually 2 small vials of it left. America has one, Russia has one. There was threats in the 2000s, I don't know, I wasn't around for it, I don't know if you knew about it, but it basically, terrorists were threatening to kill our whole civilization with anthrax, which has pieces of smallpox in it. So people were very worried that it can come back, and it still can. There's also been bioterrorism threats, and we know that through certain pox that you can chemically render viruses, like you can't use vaccines on them. So if smallpox were to come back, the entire population would all die. So we could eradicate smallpox from nature, but we could not uproot the virus from the human heart from the book. All right, thanks so much for listening and watching. I hope you see this and want to pick me for the class. Have a great rest of your day.